All right, welcome to the Do It Live Autonomy podcast. My name is TJ Zazuski, Season 5 Autonomy student. I'm here with fellow Season 5 Autonomy students. We're going to talk about some highlights for the week, some of our favorite experiences, mention the calendar, what's going on throughout the week here in Autonomy, so all you guys can get a better idea of what's going on here. A lot to do. It's a good time. Maybe check out some clips of a couple of those. Touch on last week's Q&A, and also towards the end, I'd like to maybe display some clips from last night's lecture. So, without further ado, I'd also like to mention that me personally, I got involved with the new group for the Greater Reset 2, Autonomy Unlimited is helping out with. They reached out and asked some of the students to help out, so I jumped on board with that, so I'm pretty excited about that. That's pretty cool. Some of the other things that are going on throughout the week, I noticed, I know there's Michael Nimitz launched his new well, it's not new, but again, his ethics and leadership course, which is Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Following Lisa Manfredi's course for Gateway to Financial Freedom. And yeah, so real quick, 1 second. Oh, there it is. So, do it live. You guys all see me all right? Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, you look good.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, looking great.
Sweet. So yeah, let's just run through the calendar real quick. Well, first, actually, let's touch on last week's Q&A. What did everybody think about that, and where did that take you into the week? Anybody have any thoughts on last week's Q&A?
The Sunday Q&A?
Yeah, last week's Sunday Q&A. Kind of try to see how this week's Q&A hasn't started yet. We kind of want to touch on last week, so because that kind of led into what we all experienced for the rest of the week. So that's so.
Yeah, I'll say for me, when I piped in on my my mini obsession at the time about accountability, I had a lot of people reach out to me afterward on various things that I'm working on, offering to assist me with that personally, which isn't what I was looking for. I was looking for more principles and theories of accountability that could be used in various programs and systems. But that was a benefit that I did not expect, and it's been great. I mean, the value is I mean, I guess it's calculable, but it's been pretty nice. And so, one thing I learned is just to, whatever's on my mind, put myself out there, without expectation, just, in a curious way, and see what comes back, because you never know how people, especially in this community, are going to respond.
Yeah, that's my experience. Yeah, I mean, you did have a good discussion last week in last week's Q&A. It was a big part of our Q&A was that topic of accountability. And there's always a value, I think, in accountability. So I think that went a lot of different ways. But yeah, I had that kind of experience as well, like throughout the week. I just like talking in a couple of interviews, like it's awesome, like this community and these type of people that are so ambitious and motivated to do other things, or to do more things, I should say. And they have so much feedback to give you, right? So like in a couple of the interviews that I had, I was just basically just laying out my story, and like Amy and there's a couple of them, they just gave me some really good ideas and some really good places to look at, like to where I wanted to go next with some of the ideas that I have, because when I came in here, my ideas were just like all over the place. I have like 15 ideas and don't really know where to go with them or which one I want to like focus on and pursue. Like now, because I can't have 15 ideas and do them all at once. I mean, like that's kind of what we're learning. We got to like focus and start chipping away one by one. So yeah, it's real like a big benefactor. Anybody else have any thoughts on last week's Q&A? And thanks, Michael, for your response. Appreciate it.
Well, people are thinking, I'll just add one more thing related, is that I do have to keep reminding myself that the people in autonomy, part of the reason why they're in, they are selected for their personality of not being judgmental, of it being a safer place to put yourself out there to experiment. And so related to that, what I did last week and then the interviews, it's another benefit of the program that that you're among supportive people who are going to give you space to, try new things outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, no, that's huge. Like this here, right? What I'm doing right now, it's something that I've always kind of wanted to do, and it's super like outside of my comfort zone, and never had like a place to do it, like just to try it out and see how it was. And yeah, I mean, to kind of feel it out. So it's great to be able to sit here and like host this and with people and safe place and accountability to kind of test it out and test waters to see if it's something I want to pursue and go forward with some of my ideas in the whole podcasting realm. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. Anybody else think got your thoughts? Good. All right, well, we'll just move on real quick and just kind of run through the calendar so everybody's aware of some of the stuff that's going on. I'm not able to attend most of these things, just a few, but I kind of like watch clips and kind of just converse with a couple of people and stuff about different things. And I went through and watched some clips prepping for this. So there's a lot of good stuff out there, but obviously we're all new students, most of us here, if not all of us. So like we talked about like last night with like information overload and stuff, we want to kind of not get too crazy. So with my job and everything else, so I look forward to graduation and being able to kind of deep dive into some of these, opportunities for knowledge in the future, right? So, but yeah, like on Mondays, they got the Golden Path. I believe it's with Ryan, I think his name is. He kind of goes through that new Notion software and how to use that, which is really cool. It's pretty in depth. I think I'd like to kind of jump into that at some point. Raising Excellence, that podcast happens at 2:00 on Mondays, and also on Wednesdays at like 5:30. And they actually had they've been having some guests on there too, which you might want to check out. Like I like alchemy. I've been like studying it for a little while myself. So like Operation Alchemy, and they just had an alchemist on the show this past week. That was really cool. So you might want to check that out too. It's pretty awesome. And then also like the Grand Theft World Town Hall, of course, like is really good. I don't know if has any of you guys done the Grand Theft World Town Hall? Marcin? Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, I've been there for a short period of time, but it's solid.
Nice. See, I haven't sat in live yet, but I've watched some of the replays because I was in the Grand Theft World before I got into Autonomy. So, but I definitely want to check it out. It just falls in weird parts of my day. So
what is it about, the town hall?
The Grand Theft World Town Hall is basically just covering like topics that were in Grand Theft World. Have you listened to, or have you watched Richard's Grand Theft World?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they basically just
like
have
a
a town
review
hall.
of the topics.
Yeah, Mark Soar, he's like, I believe a season 1 graduate, if I'm not mistaken, 1 or 2. And he kind of hosts it. And he basically is just like a group of people that just talk about the topics. Well, he comes in with topics anyway. And it's just roundtable discussion.
It sound like you got an airplane taking off there.
Yeah. Sorry. Sound like a helicopter.
Thank you.
Cool. But yeah, so that's what that is. And then there's Michael Nymetz. I think I mentioned that before. I want to check that out in the future. His ethics and leadership course. That sounds really good. And I did a breakout with him in last week's Q&A. He's a good dude. I think he's season 1 or season 2 too. Some of you guys might have met him by now through the interviews. I'm not sure. So yeah, and and then of course Lisa, I gotta of course I gotta play something for her. She's the one that did my blueprint interview, so got mad respect for her. But she's also I think her course of what she's doing is really amazing. The Gateway to Financial Freedom, and she's like awesome. She's just always trying to help people, and I think she's good people. So I was just gonna play a quick clip from that, just because I really like this clip of how she presents it. So give me 1 second here. It's not gonna play. Well, I was going to.
I have to refresh that Zoom. Zoom's fickle too.
Oh, no.
And you got booted.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll stop that for a second. Well, I was going to anyway. It was a good clip. But either way, Amanda and myself are going to be setting up a meeting with her in probably mid-April sometime. We're just waiting to get all of our taxes done and back and completed. And we're going to start looking into that, because I mean, who doesn't like the sounds of being your own bank, right? I think that's a super attractive concept that I look forward to digging into for sure. So what else we got here? Excuse me.
Yeah,
Well, actually-
I
Go
really
ahead.
love her course. It's so funny because it's like, no matter what education I feel like you get through the system, there's a lot of things that they don't really give you decent information about, and like finance and money management and all that stuff is definitely one of them. And I think it's an important part of being autonomous, is to be able to learn those skills, because the people that are like, you know, high above you, the CEOs and the CFOs, and they all know this stuff, but it seems like it's kind of hidden from us a little bit, or not given to us at the same level. So she does really, really good stuff. She's really intelligent when it comes to all the banking and finance. And if you guys aren't checking her course out on Wednesdays, you definitely should. It's my favorite, next to the autonomy lectures, of course.
So her course is separate from the game nights, right?
Correct.
He
Yeah.
does like cash flow, Robert Kiyosaki style game. Because I still haven't done that. Is that on the calendar too? I keep forgetting to check that.
It's not on the calendar, but I will tell you that she started not the cash flows are on the calendar, just the Gateway to Financial Freedom, which is on Wednesday nights, but on Sundays, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken, she does the cash flow, and I think she started doing it a little bit more frequently. But she has a Discord channel that she started just for Wealth Battle itself, which I'm on. So she does all that cash flow and Wealth Battle and all that stuff. Like she does it inside the Discord, kind of like we use the dojos.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's-
So there's
yeah,
a separate Discord that's just Lisa's. Oh, I didn't know that.
Correct. Yeah, just reach out to her. Yeah, I mean, DM her or whatever, and she'll send you the link or whatever. I think I actually might have found it a different way, but I mean, Lisa's medical, so I'm sure she'll be more than happy to send you the link.
She's restructuring her course, so basically doing a 2.0 right now, and then upon graduation you get access to everything.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thanks.
I will do a plug for her Wednesday night game of cash flow. That was pretty fun. I joined for the first time last week, and I give it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I miss playing that game. I have the physical board game here, and I have 3 kids, and I used to try to get them to play it with me, but they just hated the idea of it. So I don't know why I haven't done it with this group yet. It would be awesome. But yeah, I'm going to join you, Jonathan, on the next game.
This Friday at 9, this Friday 4/9 at 6 p.m. Eastern time, she's going to have a budgeting clinic as well. So in addition to like her Wednesday nights and the cash flow games, I think every once in a while she has a themed clinic. You could probably find that information on her Discord as well.
All right. I think I actually got the clip back up while you guys were talking. Thanks for that. Gotta stay on point. Wasn't gonna give up.
around by circumstance so we can increase our autonomy. So we have the resources to do the things, make the,
Sorry, I gotta get the beginning.
we have
of
some
it
mission.
because I like the way.
Also, we're
There we go.
recording this talk. So if you want anything that you say scrubbed from the record, just send me an email or message me on Discord, lisa@wealthbattle.com. So we have some missions here. Why are we here? Why do we do this? Why do I care? It's so we're not bounced around by circumstance. So we can increase our autonomy. So we have the resources to do the things, make the contributions, and contribute to change. And so we can make the old systems obsolete.
Sounds good to me, right, guys? Yeah, I really like that clip because it just kind of summarizes, what she's trying to do. And like, I mean, it just correlates with everything we're trying to do here. So I thought it was a really good clip. So yeah, moving on, what's next? Oh, and then like that's what Josh and I were talking about in the beginning too, that I've seen a lot of good feedback from in the chats for the comic with, or the comic pros, I believe it's called. Yeah, comic pros. I was gonna see if I can pull a clip out of that real quick. But in the meantime, while I'm trying to do that, like, does anybody want to speak on a little bit more of their like interview experiences? Because I think that was probably the highlight of the week, I would say. Because just real quick, I know like we did Q&A. It was kind of funny because I had a meeting or an interview already set up with Justin Olson from season 3 that does Grand Theft World right at 3 o'clock, and the Q&A ran right until, well, actually it's like 3:15. So, and Richard was like, hey, so if you guys want to keep going after this Q&A, let's just everybody just get over to the Discord, get into the dojos and start talking, or start setting up meetings and stuff. So I jumped over there, and I mean, because it was like right out of the Q&A right into that, like there was just like 30 people in there, and I went in there, and Justin's like, well, we were scheduled for 3. TJ, you want to go? So like that was like my first interview, and I had like the questions up on my screen and stuff, but I got all like jittery and get it because there's like 30 people watching. So it was kind of funny for me, but the interview ended up going really well. But it was a nervous experience. But like once I got through it, like the other interviews I had the rest of the week, it was actually a lot easier and a lot better because it was like kind of just you got it, like the nervous side out of it, like right off the beginning, because half the season was pretty much in that Discord room right at the beginning. So, but I'd love to hear some of your guys' experiences on some of your interviews.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the interview process, and I was able to get interviewed by Mike after having to navigate trying to interview somebody, having not made it through the integration exercise, made it to the integration explanation in the lecture. And it was really interesting to try to do that just with the idea of having a conversation and what I could learn with somebody. And I found it kind of challenging to keep it on topic. And what I obviously I said I didn't know exactly what the structure was. And then being interviewed by Mike set the bar really high for me. I felt like he did a really good job of hearing what I said and being able to keep it on topic, repeat things to me. I had an interview with Justin shortly after that, and I felt like that went pretty well. The rest of the interviews throughout the week, I had a pretty hard time, even though I had the format with me, keeping people on topic, being able to keep it focused and not just go too far off script. And it was really great. Then yesterday, I listened to Justin interview someone, and I popped in the end of Mike's interview and was able to identify how they were really circling back and keeping it lassoed in. So that was really helpful. I want to say thanks to them. And it's great to be able to figure out what you're struggling with in the situation and then identify when somebody else is doing it right.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because that was one of my biggest issues with the interview, is like keeping it on structure, right? Keep it to the format, because I like to conversate. So like it was actually Justin's post in the Discord, because I had one interview prior to him. I would take that back. And when I had that interview, it was just it was me and Anarcho Dave, and we just like we went through the questions, but there was like a 10-minute conversation in between each question. So it was like an hour and a half interview. And we're just, yeah, I mean, so then like the next morning I woke up and I seen Justin's post and he's like, yeah, it's good to do it that way, but also when you're, yeah, it's like, it's a skill that you build, like doing it in the right format, you know, like, so like it kind of changed my whole perspective on it. So my approach was a little different after that. Yeah, I thought it was good. Like it's hard to go, for me anyway, it was harder to like go question for question. Like I thought it was the format of like going, yeah, I mean, 30 minutes on each side of the interview. I thought was a lot more productive for me anyway. Anybody else have any comments on interviews? I saw.
Yeah, I
Mike.
have one.
Okay, good. Perfect.
So I'm driving, but I had a great conversation with, great interview with Victor Kopecky. He has a fantastic and really interesting story. He's a surgeon in Finland, and he's like changing his direction in life. And I think I'm not going to spoil everything because he'd be a really good person to set up a Calendly invite with. But I had a really good conversation with him. I felt like I did a lot better than I thought I would. I thought, I get hung up on what I'd say or what I'd ask him, but the conversation flowed very freely, and it felt like I was able to provide value to him as well as him to me. And it's cool to have done that interview because it feels like I've made a connection that I will continue to talk to throughout life. Like I asked him a question this morning about calisthenics, which he's really big into. So it was a really good experience. Mine was.
Awesome. Yeah, it's nice to find value to go both ways with an interview. Like I spoke with Amy and I told her like my story and she's like, oh wow, she's like, you look like you went or it sounds like you went through a lot of adversity to get to where you are today. She's like, I would love for you to come talk to my kids because I don't want to give all that away, but she helps with like free thinking kids. And I thought that was really awesome. I was like super happy like that she found something that I could offer value to. So that's something I'm going to set up with her real soon. So yeah, it's really cool. And then she also in turn gave me a ton of ideas of, like I was saying earlier, she was one of the people I talked to that gave me a lot of really good ideas of where to take some of the things that I've been talking about doing, to try to hone in my focus per se. So awesome. Anybody else on their interviews?
I'll say a word. One thing that I found was interesting was the contrast between doing it for 15 minutes, half an hour, or going even longer. I found that when we booked a 30-minute slot, as that's what Calendly came up with at the start, it was really quite interesting because if you stuck to the script and kept the person on message, it was sort of easy to go with the flow. You both genuinely liked each other, but then when you went over that time and you had at least half an hour, I found that the actual bond you make with the other person there is a lot deeper, and you really start, and certainly I did, I brought up stuff in my life that I wasn't prepared to share with strangers, but you just naturally did that. And probably because the community experience that we had here, but also the pattern and the format I thought was quite good. I likened it to a roadmap. Who are you? How'd you get here? Whereabouts you going? Well, what's stopping you from getting there? And what are you going to do about it exactly next? And I found that was really interesting, as well as from the other side for me personally, the longer the interview went, the more I had to try to actually make the person like me. You could bluff it for 15 minutes, but it really took a lot of effort if you weren't being genuine. So it was an eye-opener for me that just the payment of being excellent to each other just reduced the stress and allowed that interview to keep on going.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's an absolute great point. Yeah, I feel like the longer it was, the better. And yeah, and that's something I'll agree with too. Like I was talking about things that I didn't expect to be talking about for sure. Like it was quite crazy in that respect. Yeah. What was the other thing I was gonna say? But yeah, that was one thing. Oh, and then the when, like you said, the blueprint, right? So, or like kind of like a roadmap or so to speak. But so that's one thing. So like I've had a lot of ideas and a lot of things going on and et cetera. But like once you get to that question, right? Like, so where are you trying to go with this and what are you going to do about it? Right. That like really hit home for me because I'm like, you know what I mean? Because then that's kind of like where you stumble up, right? Because, at least with yourself even, right? Because you stumble up with yourself because that's where you always get with any kind of thing. And then you're like, all right, well, what am I going to do? How am I mean, so then when you're looking at somebody that's like, all right, well, what's your pain points and, you know, how you going to get there? What you going to do about it and stuff. And that kind of like really like hit me and like makes you think, you know, but like it conjured up a lot of ideas because it's something external, right? It's like, so I thought a lot harder about it and I was, I really wanted to give a response. So to where a lot of times like you get, yeah, like at least for me personally, a lot of times I'll get to a certain point and I'll be like, all right, what am I gonna do about it? And if I can't figure it out, I'll just be like, all right, well, never mind. Yeah, I mean, like I'll just move on to the next thing. I won't put that much thought into it. But it's like, it's almost like an accountability thing. But like Mike talks about, you know, it's almost like an accountability thing, but it's immediate and right in front of you. You know,
Yeah,
like you feel like it,
really good too. The structure was bringing that out, and especially if you're the interviewer, it was a case certainly for me. You know, I know the people that I spoke with, they didn't want to hear me talk. You know, until it was my turn, it was very much that the person often knew the answers, and it was this wonderful way of being able to connect and bring it out, and them to come to that understanding that this constraint or obstacle wasn't that grand. It was a little bit about what they've already learned about autonomy, of scheduling, taking small chunks out and really identifying that positive next step. And I thought that was great because it made another thing that I took away from it. Again, it's not about me. The real problem solving is genuinely being helpful to these people. And, you know, I was the one getting the thanks for it and they did all the work.
right. That's awesome.
I'm gonna second it's super difficult. I mean, I think to get the most value out of these interviews, the person being interviewed has to get taken to a place that's uncomfortable where they're addressing things either they don't know about that need to be looked at or that they kind of know and they shove to the back of their mind. I mean, everybody's good with what they're good with. It's kind of a tautology, but for me, I try when I'm talking to people to go to places that are uncomfortable, but that makes me uncomfortable. So like, it's hard for me as an interviewer, but then it's also hard for me being interviewed because I don't want to go to those places that aren't comfortable. But if I really address the flaws, the things that I need work on, then if it can end on a positive note with a good next action, then I've got a breakthrough. And so these are hard to do to get the most out of them, but I think that they're super valuable. I did not expect them to be like they were when I looked at the script and I saw the assignment. I thought it was like, I don't know. I thought it was like a pro forma thing. You just kind of read off the lines and you go through it. But getting in there, even when I was talking to people, as I was asking questions, I kept thinking about myself as well. And I'll ask them to forgive me for projecting too much onto them, but it can definitely have a lot of benefit, especially, if you're willing to put yourself in a place that you're not necessarily comfortable.
It was interesting for me in that I had several interviews where we didn't share video and then interviews where we did. And I talk with a lot of people personally. I like to have eye contact, but you can't have eye contact with the computer screen because the camera's not in the place where you can look people in the eye. And if they're talking and looking at you, they aren't looking you in the eye either. I found it much better, at least for my ability to keep on track, to not have the video running.
I'll try that.
That's really interesting because they say like 70% of communication is body language. And then we're moving into this like new era of like everything online and having to do these meetings this way. Hi, Adrian, by the way. We talked about video.
Well,
but yeah,
it's always,
it's weird because
different
even
medium.
Right, right. So even though like it's good to have the camera on, you're right, sometimes it does become distracting because you're not necessarily paying attention to the body language the way that you would if it was face to face anyway. So
But you
that's
can't
pretty
focus on what they're
interesting.
saying, and that sometimes helps. I equally enjoyed. I found those the ones more interesting in many ways because either I'm looking at myself, which is a weird experience when I'm talking, or I'll go into my mind's eye and it helps me. I'm more auditory anyway, so it helps me hear the things between the things that they're saying, and focus on the relationship to the concepts that they make. Not to get all Sherlock Holmes or anything, but like I'm not distracted by getting facial feedback or what's going on the screen, and I can focus better on their words.
And I also noticed that when I'm trying to think of something, I'll close my eyes to try to get the stuff right. This really happened with some autonomy members that are English isn't their first language, because I'm trying to go back to what I know about the languages that I've studied to try to use words that are more familiar. And it's easier to close your eyes and do the translation or think of that vocabulary.
I noticed you closed your eyes a lot when you were interviewing me, so now I'm gonna have to rethink about how I only speak English though, so
I know it's a habit I learned from a professor who spoke like 5 different languages, and he was always listening for what the other person said to try to communicate better. It is a habit, and if I can actually look at the person, I do a lot less of it, but I can't look at the person and listen and talk and keep eye contact on a computer. I'm really trying right now to look into the camera, and it's distracting to see all your faces, but that's all right.
No, you're muted, Dave. You're muted. Muted.
Oh, I thought I unmuted myself. Thanks, TJ. So yeah, I mean, as I had the same issue, Adrian. I mean, you're always looking at the picture. You're looking at the person on the screen, and it feels weird because you're not looking them directly in the eye. So instead, I'm trying to look at the little green dot at the top of my screen, and that feels weird too. So it's very disorienting sometimes doing this in this way. Sometimes I'll try to center the picture of the person right under the camera, which I don't know if I never stopped to ask anyone if they had the experience of me looking them in the eye when I did that, but that might be an interesting question to ask.
You can get a teleprompter. I've done that a couple times. I didn't do it today, but you can get a small teleprompter if you do an external camera, and then that way you can look at the screen directly and talk
dial
into
that
it.
in. Yeah, I guess like Amanda says, if we're going to be doing this frequently, then maybe it would be a good idea to dial that in that way.
I think it helps. I think having the picture underneath the camera definitely helps.
Yeah, centering it up.
That's how I have it, but I still I try to like scroll over a lot of times because I don't want to, because if I'm still in the picture, I can't help but look at myself.
Right. Right.
It's one of those things.
Process kind of like a meditation, in the sense that about half. I think I've done 7 conversations now altogether. About half of them were just almost completely conversational, like I was hardly following the outline at all. Which those were good too. There's nothing wrong with that. At least I got to know the person, and I found myself somewhat doing a lot of the things that were in the sort of to-do list, the scaffolding. But then there were other times when I really tried to stick with it. And that's why I'm making the connection to the meditation. So meditation for me is, you get distracted and you refocus on what you're doing. You get distracted and you refocus. That's meditation, the way my practice goes. And this was kind of like that. So I'm just kind of in a conversation, but then I would go back to the outline and then try to jump back at it. And then I would get distracted by something with a conversation and then come back to the outline. So having that format was really useful. And I did find that when I asked people questions and just stopped and listened, because I'm a very chatty person and I can just talk over people, this really slowed that down for me and allowed me to stop myself from my normal behavior, having this structure there. And there were 2 or 3 conversations which were almost spiritual. They were very deep, and very helpful, I think, to the other person and me as well. But so I really enjoyed the process. Good education for sure. And I'm really sad that I didn't get to jump in, or I didn't take the opportunity, sorry, to jump into some of these conversations that, like you had, TJ, where there was a lot of people in the room. Because I think that actually I would find that nerve-wracking, but that would be useful for like seeing how you work under that kind of pressure. For sure.
It is useful for sure. Just like me doing this is useful. It's like it's like nerve-wracking at first, but like once you get to, then afterwards, it's just like anything. It's just like almost any obstacle you get, at least in my experience in life, I always approach it, like with like nerves and like, I don't know if I can do it or whatever. And like Amanda's always told me too, like when I was getting promoted like quite frequently to where I got to where I'm at, every time I'd get a promotion, there'd be all these additional responsibilities, and I'd start freaking out. She'd be like, "Baby, you're fine. In like 3 months, you'll just be doing it like it's nothing." And every single time, that's how it was. So I kind of try to keep that in mind, that whole comment in mind all the time. Anytime I'm trying to do something new, because I know once I just do it and do it live, so to speak, in any circumstance, like
well, you grabbed the bull by the horns this time. You're first up. So way to go.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah, I jumped on it. Like I said in the beginning, I've always wanted to kind of do a podcast of my own, and but yeah, like so this is like I thought it'd be a good experience, but I never expected to really do a podcast, like a live one though either. When I talked about doing one, so but that's the way you get over stuff, I guess. Yeah, it's super helpful. I like to experience as many things in life as I can. And especially the things that are uncomfortable, because you get the most growth and the most value out of those things, right? So, all right. Anybody else got any comments on the interview this week? All right. Well, let's jump over to some slides from last night. So I'm gonna share the screen here in a second, but I'm just gonna, so I chose this slide kind of because I mean, those of you that were here last week in this podcast, we talked a lot about time and the value of time. And I thought this kind of coincided well. So yeah, freedom is a luxury. Freedom is the luxury of not having to do something that you don't want to do. So what do you kind of coincide that with time? Like that's the big thing that I was talking about last week. When you're like, so I want to get my time back. So the fact that I have to do the same loop of a day every single day with my job and going to work and doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you feel like you're kind of in a loop and a repetition, but it's also something you have to do. You don't have no choice in it, really. Well, you do have a choice, right? But that's where we're trying to get, right, with the freedom mentality. So so you do have that choice, and I thought this coincided well with that. Anybody else have any thoughts on this slide?
I think a great example of this is just work and the freedom to get out of the rat race, as you've said there. If we don't want to work and we want to be sat in some beach in Thailand or on the Pacific coast, that would be absolutely great. And even just the way each of us are paying for our rent or our mortgage through the rat race and the cubicle job or working for the man, however you want to say it, that is the first thing that hits me. On Tuesday morning, I've got to get up and go to work again. If I won the lottery, would I be doing that? No, I really have to ask the question. So yeah, maybe Autonomy's got the answer in about 13 weeks' time.
I hope so, and I think we're yeah, I think the answer is in here somewhere. Just the community side of it is really great, and the feedback you get to like kind of all the, I forget how Richard puts it, but that he was talking about last night, like that immediate feedback loop. I mean, like when you talk about something, you get immediate feedback from people, so it's like you have an idea, you can immediately get feedback from it. So it's like, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, about that, I think we're now in the point where we look for the autonomy to solve our problems. But in the end, I think we will get to the point where we just see that the autonomy help us individuals to get answers and to get the solutions for ourselves.
I can agree with that. We do looking for autonomy for the answers. So I think we're looking to autonomy for the answers as help us learn that. Yeah, I mean that it's all within us all, right? We all have it within us, and just because of our environments and the way a lot of us were brought up and the structure of society and stuff, like it's hard for us to see that, right? So that's So I agree, I 100% agree with you. I don't think it's autonomy itself has the answers, but I think autonomy is the thing that's going to help us all like bring it out in ourselves.
Maybe like a vehicle.
Yes, exactly, a vehicle, yeah, or the catalyst, or yeah, for sure. Cool.
The other thing to bring a downer on this slide, of course, now I'm in England, we're still in lockdown. So walking into the shops today, signs, security guards at the front, and everyone's got a mask up. Even though I take my vitamin D tabs, I'm pretty healthy, and so does everyone else look like there. Yeah, so you feel it every time you put on the mask, and I'm just doing it because the man says it.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Where are you from, Jonathan?
Originally, I'm from Sydney, so they've got a totally different experience where my parents and those who I grew up with are at, and they've got their statistics are definitely being done a different way to over here in the centre of the beast in England.
Yeah, it's crazy in Sydney or in Australia to begin with. It's nuts. But yeah, I mean, it's not a downer. It's just the reality of it, right? But we just got to find a way to get to that freedom minded and just be as autonomous and self-sufficient as possible. And the closer we get to that, the less we have to worry about going to the grocery store and putting on a mask, and that's, I think, is going to be created and built around community, autonomous type communities, right? It's where like you can help one another, because
100%. It's not about autarky, it's about working together and making that current system obsolete. And that's one of the things, and sort of big group hug moment warning, ladies and gents, but I really do like that it's such a positive thought. It's not about going towards a reacting and lashing out. It's actually, let's make something better, and the old thing will fall away because it is obsolete.
Yeah, I like that mindset there, Jonathan. I mean, because I catch myself yelling at screens a lot and yelling at the radio, and I have a tendency to get aggravated, but I've been reminded recently that that's what you said is really what it's about. You just kind of got to say, hey, look, we got to create something new and focus your attention and energy on the creation of that new thing, how to bring people together, and that other thing will just fall away. That these elites out there, they seem powerful, but they're only as powerful as we let them be. So if we can gather people's attention in and focus it in a better direction, their power will just drop away. And so it's a good way to think about it in my mind.
No, I couldn't agree more. I absolutely agree with that. I mean, they only have the power that we give them, right? So if we can not need them basically for anything, I mean, break away and separate ourselves from that, then they have absolutely no power. I mean, that sums it up pretty much. So the idea of autonomy is the perfect idea, so to speak, to make that happen. So I'm glad to be a part of it this early on, because I think it'll be something great, much greater in the future, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I wanted to share a story about a recent experience in regards to that slide. Last month, I wanted to go on vacation, with everything going on. They say, oh, well, you can't travel, you can't go to Mexico, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to find a way to go. And so I went to Acapulco last month. And I found ways to get across the border. I found a way to get on the plane. Didn't take the COVID test because I didn't accept that as my reality. It's like, how am I going to bypass all this? And so got to Acapulco, had a great time. Was able to shake Michael Nimitz' hand at a party. Hi, Michael. and I had a wonderful time. And even coming back, great experience coming back across the border. But I took it upon myself to say, fuck it, I'm going to have a vacation. I'm going to have a great experience, and I'm not going to let anybody get in the way of that. And so
that's the spirit.
Yeah, you got to take it into your own hands, because if you let these other people decide that for you, then that's your experience.
Where is your freedom then? Yeah.
Yeah, and so I had a wonderful time in Acapulco, and so it's out there. You just got to take it into your own hands.
It's awesome, Danny. Thanks for that story. It's super inspirational for sure.
Amen.
Where are you at now, Danny?
I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Looks like you're in your aquaponics shop, huh?
Yeah, so I'm in my greenhouse right now. I figured this is as good a place to do the Do It Live call, and so here I am. And so
is your whole setup like in like a greenhouse style setup?
Yeah. Where I'm at right now, and I hope nobody minds, but I'll kind of pick the camera and kind of show everybody what we got here. I hope this works. So this is my setup here at a middle school. This is only 24 by 32 feet long. So it's not a lot of space, but you're able to get a lot of productivity out of this. And so overall, I can produce 700 heads of produce out of this setup. And this is despite all the set asides. This is an ADA compliant structure and setup. I did that on purpose. And the reason I did it that way is for inclusion. I want people to understand that no matter your background, where you come from, if you're working with some kind of disability, you can do aquaponics. There's no reason you can't do this. None, zero. And I teach that to the kids. So I'm actually working on a special curriculum for folks that are in a wheelchair or some level of disability, that yes, they have a means to not only do their own gardening, grow their own food, but if they want to go into this as a vocation, the opportunity is there. And so as you can see, I'm harvesting food. We're at the start of April, but I was able to produce food for the last month or so. So you can grow year round. I've got some broccoli going. I'll kind of zoom in a little. So there's the broccoli right there.
Nice.
Got some kale going. We got some celery that's overgrown a little bit. The lettuce I've already harvested. Over here we got some Swiss chard and some beets that are going. And so
nice.
So it allows for versatility. So I get a lot of the questions, from the cannot doers. Oh, that won't work. Oh, you can't do it this way. And the truth of the matter is, I've done my share of failures in this greenhouse. So I know what I can and cannot do. And just because I say I can't do it, that doesn't mean that it can't be done. So there's a growing industry in terms of this technology. I'll show you kind of the fish. So there's the fish. I use goldfish, and they're a little hungry this morning or this afternoon. But the thing is, we'll set the camera back over here. This is a fully functional system. It's easy enough for a middle schooler to operate it. And we just need more people to learn this technology. So
I'll be learning it because I think it was the global or the meetup or something. I think you brought up this and everything I mentioned to you because like I bought 5 acres up in North Florida, just blank wooded land, you know. So I wanna do something with aquaponics and definitely get a couple of different grow setups up there. But aquaponics is definitely something I've been wanting to do for sure. So I downloaded I downloaded the PDF that you posted in the Discord a couple weeks ago. I haven't been able to get figure all the way through it yet, but I kind of, well, I figured through it, I should say. I haven't been able to sit down and actually read through it yet, but.
Oh, no, not a problem. So what's the beautiful thing about this year or even last year, there's a lot of compiling of information in terms of aquaponics. And so, and it's relevant information. It helps you get out in the field and do aquaponics more efficiently. Prior to this, there was always this stigma that, oh, well, it doesn't work. Oh, it's a fringe science. You're only growing marijuana with that, or you're doing something illegal with it. And so there was always the stigma that came with it. And so in reality, yes, it is a proven method of growing food. It's been recognized recently as a growing method. So people like me, you know, I qualify for grants now, some opportunities to get loans and other methods to fund projects. And
awesome.
that was kind of something that the big ag kind of locked this segment out of, because they know this is decentralized agriculture. You can do it at home. You can take control of your food supply, and they don't want you to know it. And so, and as I go further along the year, I'm going to be much more aggressive about putting more information out, whether it's on the Discord server. I've been invited to a couple of conferences already to where I'm going to speak on this topic, to where anybody can grow their own food. Here's how, here's the methodology, here's the research, the textbook I'm creating. I'm going to include some artwork with that. And so if Mohammed's on this call, yeah, we're going to work together. So, but this is how, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but this is how we can get some of that schooling or that unschooling back in our hands. Is you can teach critical thinking and other methodologies to get out of the learned health business and all that stuff through aquaponics. So I'm going to incorporate a lot of what we're learning in Autonomy in what I'm putting out there.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic, Danny. I appreciate that. That's all good. Yeah, that's great. I look forward to it because, like I said, I'm going to do something with aquaponics. There's no doubt about it. It's just that's another one of those things that I gotta map out, right? But it's definitely gonna happen. I can promise that for sure. So cool. Thank you, buddy. All right. Well, I guess lastly, before we close this all out, does anybody else want to share any thoughts on last night's lecture? And maybe the integration exercises to come? What's your thoughts on any of that? No, I didn't.
I might add a point. One of the things that I've heard many times, and
yeah, I do want to mention something there.
Oh, okay.
Danny
Go for it.
brought up.
Oh, froze. Did you freeze? Oh.
We see you.
We all freeze?
No, you haven't frozen. I wondered if the speaker froze though. Who was speaking?
Michael, I think, right? You there, Michael?
Sorry, guys, I'll try it again. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, your video is just freezing up, buddy.
My apologies.
All good.
So was Dave gonna say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I can, but I was waiting for my.
Yeah, I think he's having tech issues, I think. So go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. So I think I was gonna talk about this idea of the other. I mean, there was a slide, I don't remember, it's toward the end of the lecture last night, but he was talking about, the two sides. You have the one that's more self-focused and the other is more other focused. And it's kind of this idea of it's counterintuitive. That, a lot of us are coming to autonomy, or we take courses, or we do things because we're trying to improve ourselves, right? Which is nothing wrong with that. That's great. But what I learned, I think that sort of give me a different take on things was, buying courses and learning things so that you can do something for someone else. Right. And that this idea that when you start focusing your attention on serving and helping others, we know this, right? We know it intellectually, but it's kind of hard to get it internalized to the point where once you actually start reaching out and serving and helping, and like the listening exercise that we did, these last couple of weeks, it's really about focusing on the other person. And I think I just take one of the things that I think it's burrowing a little deeper into my 51-year-old psyche that I haven't learned in this many years is to really take the time to care and be concerned about others, and kind of let go of your own worries and needs. And then there's just sort of the universe sort of will fill that in. And I have this expectation, right? So you always have your own needs and wants in the back of your mind, but that was just a big takeaway for me from last night's lesson, is trying to switch to really saying, I'm doing this so that I can be skilled to really serve others, or I'm building this business so that I can create something that will really be of value to others, as opposed to I'm creating something so that I can make X number of dollars, that mindset. Right. So
No,
anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
No, that's a great point. I mean, I struggle with that still all the time, like for sure. Where it's like I know it too. Like I've known it for a long time. Like because when I look back and I realize like the periods of my life where I did focus on like serving and helping others, everything else kind of just falls in place, right? And then like it's very easy to like create a bunch of new things in your life and get kind of focused on you again, and like, or like ambitious because there's this thing you want to achieve or whatever, and then other people and the serving aspect of other people kind of diminishes a little bit or dissolves around you because you're so focused on what you want to get done for yourself, right? So like that's a valuable point, Dave, and I'm glad you brought it up.
It's a hard shift. I mean, I'm still working on it. I'm just saying that the part of just being here is just this idea of getting in the mindset of service and of excellence. And that's really what it's all about. Once you can actually get that in there and you fix it down deep, then you're free. I mean, I think, and that's just, I'm just bringing it up because that's something I'm going to be working on during this time.
That's great. Jonathan, did you have something to say?
I thought that was an excellent point. Thank you, Dave. But we shouldn't feel too guilty about thinking about ourselves. 15,000 hours of schooling usually finishes up with everybody asking you, okay, little Johnny, what are you going to do, little Billy? Which university are you going to go to? Doing it all for yourself. And you're right, the atomizing of that 15,000 hours just puts us in this place where we think it's all about us. We stop thinking of what can I do for my family? What can I do for the wider group? What can I do for others? And yeah, what you just said, Dave, really resonates for me, that this actually, the entire course is doing it for somebody else. And even during the interviews, it came back to what is my why? My whys were about other people, funnily enough, my family, and yes, still close. But actually for me to do it for my family, as you said, I need to let go of my ego and think it's all about me. It really is. What can we be excellent for each other for? Thank you.
Yeah, that's the
Jonathan,
part.
it is totally counterintuitive. Yeah. What a way to pay yourself back by paying others, right?
Go ahead, Dave.
100%. Great point. Thank you, Mark.
And I also think that kind of relates to that slide that you had up about freedom is a luxury, to like not have to do the things you don't want to do. when you're working for money, you end up in that situation a lot of times, right? Doing things that you don't want to do. When you're working in service and you're being a good person and you're helping other people, work becomes this different thing, right? Where it is that thing that you want to do. So I think it all kind of comes back to that slide too. So good points. Love it.
For sure. Thank you. All right, guys. Does anybody else have anything you want to say before we close it out? I appreciate all you guys coming here and hanging out with me for the first time doing this. And
I'll follow in what Amanda just said, and it may be just by saying the corporate model seems to cut the heart out of the transaction. You know, and that when you really, that's the opposite side of the coin. That's the other way of looking at it, is if you don't really connect with somebody, then what's the real transaction that's happening, right?
For sure. That's why the corporate model treats the lesser few like worse than them. Yeah, I mean, because there's no connection there. You know, that's why they tend to treat their lower level employees like dirt, more or less, or like just not as good, because there is no personal interaction there. You know what I mean? Because if they had to look at them as people in the face every single day and actually, you know what I mean, feel what they're feeling, I mean, like they wouldn't. Well, maybe some of them probably would, because I mean they've been polluted enough to this point. But I mean, there's a lot of them that probably wouldn't. It would be a lot harder of a thing to do if they had to look at everybody in the eye every day when they chose to, you know what I mean, treat people the way they do. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more about the corporate model cutting the heart out of everything, or out of that whole transaction. Anybody else? All good. All right, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody showing up.
Fantastic job, TJ. Thanks for taking the mic.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. You're up next. All right, guys. Thanks. We'll see you. See you tomorrow in Q&A, right?